Hello and welcome to this build series of the Estes Hi-Flier XL. This kit is a great kit for those who are wanting to get into advanced building techniques. I will help those who just picked up this kit as their first advanced build by sharing tips and tricks on how I built my Hi-Flier XL. Today we will be starting with the motor mount. The supplies that you will need is an X-Acto knife or hobby knife, medium CA glue or super glue, wood glue, I use Titebond 2, a ruler, and a pencil. The parts needed from your kit are the engine mount tube, centering rings, an engine hook, and the engine block. To get started building your engine mount, I'm going to take the centering ring card and cut out the centering rings by sliding my knife through the tabs on the engine mount card. I will rotate as I go, making sure I cut all the way through. Once I have finished going around the outside of the centering ring, I will also go through and cut the tabs on the inside of the centering ring as well. I will also flip the card over to cut the tabs from the other side. Now that the tabs are cut, I will punch out the centering ring from the card as well as the center of the centering ring. Now it's time to mark where those centering rings will go on the motor mount tube. I will grab my ruler and my pencil and make the marks according to the instructions. The instructions say to make a mark from one end that is 1 inch away as well as a mark that is 3 1/4 inches away. Pay attention to which end you make these marks, as this will become the bottom of your motor mount tube. This is important when we go to make a cut later for the engine hook. You will notice that I have been going around the motor mount tube and making the mark several times. This will help me as I align the centering rings later in the process. I will now take my motor mount tube and my X-Acto knife and make a slit at the mark that is 3 1/4 inches away from the bottom. This slit should just be big enough to slide the engine hook into. To get a better angle at cutting this slit, I will rotate the motor mount tube. Now that the slit has been made, I will grab the engine hook and slide the end with a 90-degree bend into the slit to give it a test fit. It goes in nicely and it is aligned perpendicular to the slit. I am then grabbing the engine block to make sure it is flush with the top of the motor mount tube. It is looking good so far. I decided to do a test fit with an engine as well, so I grabbed an e-motor that I had on hand. There's a little bit of play here, but that's okay. It even fits well with the engine block. With the dry fit looking good and the parts fitting well, I'm going to go ahead and grab some medium CA and put a dab of glue over the engine hook in the slit I made earlier. I will now take some CA and put it around the top of the engine mount tube. I add quite a bit here to make sure that it will soak through the paper of the engine block to give a strong bond. The engine block slides in nicely and is held tight with the glue. I take time to make sure that it is aligned well so that when the engine slides in, it isn't at an angle. Now as the engine block dries, I will dry fit the centering rings. They don't quite slide on and off easily. So I will take the X-Acto blade and trim off any extra paper from cutting the tabs from earlier on the inside of the ring. Notice on the inside of the ring there is a little paper burr that I can easily remove with my X-Acto blade. Just going around and giving it a quick trim makes sliding on the rings much easier. Now that I have finished trimming the inside of the centering rings, I will grab one and slide it over the motor mount tube, aligning the notch in the ring with the engine hook. This centering ring is giving me a little bit of trouble. I'll come back to this one later and grab the other one. Now that the ring is on, I will slide it down to the mark that I made earlier. Remember, this one is an inch from the bottom. I am checking the alignment of the centering ring to make sure it is as perpendicular as I can get it. I will then take some of my super glue and add it to the motor mount tube and the centering ring. I am adding quite a bit here. I don't need to add this much, but it does help for a strong and secure connection. If you notice any alignment is off, it is good to correct it now while the glue is still a little bit wet. I am now grabbing the other centering ring and sliding it on over the top of the engine mount. It didn't quite go on as easily as I hoped, so I'm going to touch it up a little bit with my hobby knife to make sure that the fit is just right. Now I'm going to check the fit to see if I need to trim up any more of the centering ring. It's still not fitting the way I would like, so I will remove it and give it one more pass with the X-Acto knife. Remember, these advanced builds aren't about rushing through it to get it done. It's about taking your time to make sure everything is aligned well so your rocket will fly straight and true through the air. It is time to check the fit again. Remember to align the notch in your centering ring over the engine hook. Thankfully, this time it did slide over, and I am aligning the centering ring over the slit we made earlier. Everything is looking good, so I'm going to lock it down with some super glue. Again, I'm using too much super glue here. Just a couple drops will do the trick. Awesome. Now that the centering rings are in place, it is time to take some wood glue and make the joints a little bit stronger. I will add a bead of glue onto the centering rings up against the motor mount tube. Now that I've added the glue, I will take my finger and spread the glue around and get a nice fillet, wiping off any excess glue on a paper towel as I go. We don't need a lot of glue, just enough to make the fillet. We don't need a lot of glue here, just enough to make the fillet. Now that we've smoothed off any glue and made some nice fillets, set it off to the side to dry. Now that this side is dry, we will do the other side much the same way. Notice I didn't add as much glue on these sides this time. I did this to minimize any waste when I smooth it out with my finger. Once I have made the fillets on both centering rings, I'm going to go around the edges of the centering rings and clean up any excess glue. This will help make sliding the motor mount into the body tube much easier. And everything is looking good. I will put it on top of my glue bottle to let it dry. And we are done with the motor mount. Once it is dry, it will be ready to be installed into the body tube of the rocket. Please let me know if you have any questions along your journey.